The businessman grabbed Marcus Webb's duffel bag and hurled it to the floor. "Pick it up," he sneered. "You're blocking the aisle, buddy." Marcus didn't flinch. He'd survived worse 18 years on aircraft carrier decks, bombs exploding, jets screaming, his wife dying in his arms, raising a son alone while mopping hospital floors at midnight. He bent down, slowly picked up the bag, and said nothing. But 30,000 feet above the earth, two FA-18 Super Hornets would change everything. Because the pilots inside those cockpits knew something nobody on this plane did. They knew who Phantom was. Comment below which city you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Marcus Webb had learned a long time ago that invisibility was its own kind of survival. He stood in the boarding line at Chicago O'Hare ticket, clutched in his hand. His 8-year-old son Eli pressed close to his side. The boy's sneakers had holes near the toes. Marcus had noticed them this morning but said nothing. New shoes cost money. Money they didn't have. "Dad, is the plane gonna be big? Biggest thing you've ever seen, buddy. Bigger than the ships you worked on?" Marcus smiled. "Nothing's bigger than those ships, but this'll be close." The line shuffled forward. A woman in a fur-trimmed coat glanced back at them, her eyes traveling from Marcus's worn jacket to Eli's faded backpack. She turned away quickly, pulling her designer purse closer to her body. Marcus pretended not to notice. He'd stopped noticing years ago. The gate agent scanned his boarding pass without looking up. "You're in 14C, last row, near the lavatory." "That's fine. It's going to be loud back there. We'll manage." She finally glanced at him, something flickering in her eyes. Pity maybe, or just impatience. "Have a nice flight." Marcus guided Eli down the jetway, one hand on the boy's shoulder. The tunnel smelled like recycled air and jet fuel. For a moment, just a moment, that smell took him somewhere else. Somewhere he tried not to go anymore. The flight deck of the USS Nimitz. 0400 hours. Rain lashing sideways. An FA-18 with a hydraulic leak that nobody else had caught. He'd caught it. He always caught it. "Dad, you okay?" Marcus blinked. Eli was staring up at him, worry creasing his small face. "I'm good, son. Just thinking. About Mom." The question hit him like a fist to the chest. It always did. "Yeah," he said quietly. "About Mom." They reached the aircraft door, and Marcus stepped aside to let a couple pass. The man wore a suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in 3 months. The woman beside him dripped gold earrings, bracelet watch. They didn't acknowledge him. Didn't even see him. That was fine. Marcus had spent 15 years working in the shadows of aircraft carriers and engine bays and maintenance hangars covered in grease and hydraulic fluid. Nobody saluted the guys who kept the planes flying. Nobody wrote songs about them. They just did their jobs day after day, night after night, while pilots got the glory and the medals and the thanks of a grateful nation. He didn't resent it. Not really. He'd chosen that life. Loved it even. What he resented was what came after. "Excuse me, sir. You need to keep moving." A flight attendant stood behind him, her smile polished and professional. Fake. "Sorry." Marcus nudged Eli forward. "Come on, buddy." They walked down the narrow aisle, squeezing past passengers, shoving bags into overhead bins, past businessmen already typing on laptops, past a mother trying to calm a crying infant. Row after row after row. Row 14 was exactly where the gate agent said it would be, the last row pressed against the back wall right next to the lavatory door. "This is us," Marcus said. Eli slid into the window seat, his face pressed immediately to the glass. "I can see the wing. Pretty cool, huh?" "So cool." Marcus smiled and lifted his duffel bag toward the overhead bin. It was heavy. Everything they owned for the next week was in there. Clothes, toiletries, The folder with his resume and military records for tomorrow's interview. The folder that held their entire future. He stretched up, trying to wedge the bag into the cramped space, but it wouldn't fit. The bin was already stuffed with someone else's luggage. "Come on," he muttered, pushing harder. "Hey!" The voice came from behind him, sharp, annoyed. Marcus turned. The businessman in the expensive suit stood in the aisle arms, crossed, face twisted with impatience. "You're blocking the way." "Sorry, just trying to—" "I don't care what you're trying to do. Move." Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. He took a breath, held it, let it go. "Give me 1 second. I've given you 10. Some of us have actual places to be." The words hung in the air. Actual places. As if Marcus was going nowhere. As if he was nothing. Eli had turned from the window, now watching. His eyes were wide. Marcus looked at his son. Looked at the fear there. The confusion. He pulled the duffel bag down. "I'll put it under the seat." Finally. The businessman pushed past his shoulder, catching Marcus's arm. Hard. Deliberate. Marcus said nothing. He sat down next to Eli, shoving the bag beneath the seat in front of him. His knees pressed against it. There was no room. There was never any room. "Dad." "Yeah, buddy." Why was that man so mean? Marcus looked at his son, at those innocent eyes, still believing the world was fair, still believing people were good. "Some people are just in a hurry," he said. "It's not about us." But it was. They both knew it was. The plane filled slowly. More passengers streamed past, none of them glancing at row 14. Marcus watched them, the young professionals with their AirPods, the retirees with their cruise ship t-shirts, the families with their chaos and laughter. He used to be part of something like that. A family. A life. Sarah. Her name rose unbidden the way it always did in quiet moments. Sarah with her wild curls and her louder laugh. Sarah who'd waited for him through 3 deployments, who'd sent care packages filled with cookies and letters and photographs of a life he was missing. Sarah who'd died bringing Eli into the world. Complications, the doctor said. Hemorrhaging. Nothing we could do. He'd held her hand as she slipped away. Felt the warmth leave her fingers. Watched the light fade from her eyes. And then they'd placed a screaming infant in his arms, and the world had split in 2, unbearable grief and impossible love, existing side by side, tearing him apart every single day since. "Sir." Marcus looked up. A flight attendant different from the one before stood in the aisle. Young. Maybe 25. She had kind eyes. "Can I get you anything before takeoff? Water, juice for your son." "Water would be great, thank you." She smiled and moved on. Eli tugged his sleeve. "She was nice." "Yeah, she was. Not everyone's mean." "No, buddy, not everyone." The plane pushed back from the gate and the captain's voice crackled through the speakers. "Good afternoon, folks. Welcome aboard Flight 847 with service to San Diego. Flight time today is approximately 4 hours and 15 minutes. We're expecting smooth air for most of the trip, with a slight chance of some chop over the Rockies. Flight attendants, please prepare for departure." Marcus leaned back and closed his eyes. San Diego. Naval Base. San Diego, to be specific. Where tomorrow morning he'd walk into an office and beg for a job. Maintenance supervisor. The posting had appeared 3 weeks ago, and Marcus had stared at it for hours before finally submitting his application. 15 years of Navy experience. Perfect service record. Commendations. Letters of recommendation from officers who'd trusted him with their lives. And then 8 years of nothing. Civilian life. Odd jobs. Night shifts mopping floors at Chicago General Hospital, invisible among the doctors and nurses who walked past without seeing him. He'd tried to make it work. Tried so hard. But the bills kept coming and the savings kept shrinking, and Sarah wasn't there to tell him it would be okay. This interview was his last chance. If he got this job, he and Eli could start over. Real housing, real stability, a future. If he didn't, he couldn't think about that. Dad, look. Marcus opened his eyes. Eli was pressed against the window again, pointing at something outside. What is it? Another plane, right next to us. Marcus leaned over and looked. A commercial jet was taxiing parallel to them, passengers visible through the tiny windows. That's pretty cool, huh? Do you think they're going somewhere fun? Maybe. Where do you think? Marcus studied the other plane, watching the faces in the windows. Strangers. All of them going somewhere, coming from somewhere, carrying their own invisible weights. I don't know, buddy. Could be anywhere. I hope they're going somewhere happy. Marcus looked at his son, at the hope in his eyes, the goodness. Me too, he said softly. Me too. Yeg. The plane lifted off, and Chicago fell away beneath them, the sprawling grid of streets, the silver ribbon of the lake, the buildings shrinking to toys and then to nothing. Eli watched it all with wonder. Marcus watched Eli. This kid was everything. The only thing. The reason he got up at 4 a.m. to mop floors. The reason he ate one meal a day so Eli could have 3. The reason he kept going when everything in him wanted to stop. Hey, Dad. Yeah. Do you miss the Navy? The question caught him off guard. Eli didn't ask about the Navy much. Marcus didn't talk about it much. Sometimes, he admitted. What do you miss? Marcus thought about it. Really thought. The purpose, he finally said. Knowing that what I did mattered. That if I didn't do my job, someone might not come home. You kept the plane safe. I tried. You did, Dad, you did. Marcus smiled, but it felt heavy. How do you know? Because you're the best at everything. Kids, they broke your heart in the best ways. I'm not the best at everything, buddy. Yes, you are. You're the best dad. Marcus's throat tightened. He pulled Eli close, kissed the top of his head. Thanks, kid. You're welcome. An hour into the flight, the beverage cart made its way down the aisle. The flight attendant with the kind eyes stopped at their row. What can I get you, gentlemen? Just water for me, Marcus said. And, actually, does he have options? We have apple juice, orange juice, ginger ale. Apple juice, Eli exclaimed. She laughed. Apple juice it is. She poured the drinks and handed them over. Then she paused, looking at Marcus more closely. That's a Navy cap in your pocket. Marcus glanced down. The faded blue cap was sticking out of his jacket, the anchor insignia barely visible. Yeah, old habit. You served 18 years. Her eyes widened. 18 years. Wow. What did you do? Aircraft maintenance. Kept the jets flying. On a carrier, USS Nimitz. She whistled low. That's serious. My grandfather was Navy, served in Vietnam. He sounds like a good man. He was. Best man I ever knew. She paused. Thank you for your service. The words were automatic. People said them all the time, but something in her voice made them feel real. Thank you, Marcus said. That means a lot. She moved on, and Eli looked up at him. See, Dad? She knew you were special. Marcus shook his head. I'm not special, buddy. Yes, you are. You just don't know it. Another hour passed. Eli dozed against Marcus's shoulder, the apple juice cup still clutched in his small hand. Marcus gently pried it loose and set it in the seat pocket. The cabin had grown quiet. Most passengers were sleeping or lost in their screens. The businessman from earlier was 2 rows up his laptop, open, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Important work, probably. Important life. Marcus looked at his own hands, calloused, scarred. A burn mark on his left thumb from a welding accident 7 years ago. Grease under the fingernails that never fully came clean. These hands had saved lives. Nobody would ever know it. Bed. The young flight attendant passed by again, and this time she stopped. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said quietly, "but I mentioned you to our captain. Hope that's okay." Marcus frowned. "Mentioned me? That you're a Navy veteran. He wanted me to ask what your call sign was." The question hit Marcus like a wave. Call sign. He hadn't heard those words in years. Hadn't thought about them. Why does he want to know? He's former Navy himself, just curious. Marcus hesitated. The call sign felt like another life, another man. "Phantom," he finally said. "They called me Phantom." The flight attendant's smile flickered. Something changed in her eyes. Recognition, confusion, he couldn't tell. "Phantom," she repeated. "Yeah, because I worked the night shifts mostly. Guys used to say I could find problems in the dark that nobody else could see." That's actually amazing." "It was just a nickname. I'll let the captain know." She hurried toward the front of the plane and Marcus watched her go, a strange feeling settling in his chest. Why did the captain care about his call sign? It was probably nothing. Just Navy guys being Navy guys, swapping stories, comparing service records. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep. The plane jolted. Marcus's eyes snapped open. Eli stirred beside him. What was that?" "Just turbulence, buddy. Go back to sleep." But Eli was awake now, rubbing his eyes. "Are we almost there?" Marcus checked his watch. They'd been in the air for about 2.5 hours. "About halfway." "I'm hungry." Marcus's stomach tightened. He had exactly $11 in his wallet. The snacks on this flight cost $8 each. If he bought one for Eli, he'd have $3 left until who knew when. "Let me see what they have." He flagged down a passing attendant, not the kind one, a different woman older with a pinched expression. "Can I help you?" "How much for the snack box?" $8. "I'll take one." He pulled out his wallet, extracted his debit card. The attendant ran it through her handheld machine. Declined. The word flashed on the screen. Red. Brutal. "It's not going through," she said. Marcus's face burned. "Can you try it again?" She did. Same result. "Do you have another card?" He didn't. He had nothing. No, sorry. Never mind." The attendant moved on without another word. Marcus shoved the card back into his wallet, shame coiling in his gut. "Dad." Eli was looking at him. Those big eyes, that worried face. "It's okay, buddy. We'll eat when we land." "But I'm hungry now." "I know. I'm sorry. We'll eat soon. I promise." Eli nodded slowly, but Marcus could see the disappointment, the confusion. The kid didn't understand. How could he? He was 8 years old. He didn't know about bank accounts and overdraft fees and the crushing weight of poverty. He didn't know that his father had $4.37 to his name. Marcus stared out the window at the clouds, endless white, empty. How had it come to this? He'd done everything right, served his country, raised his son, worked every job he could find, and still here he was unable to buy his kid a $7 snack on an airplane. Sarah would know what to say. She always did. She'd put her hand on his arm and tell him it was temporary, that things would get better, that they just had to hold on a little longer. But Sarah was gone, and Marcus was so tired of holding on. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking." The voice crackled through the cabin, startling Marcus from his thoughts. "We've got some interesting company joining us for the next few minutes. If you look out the left side of the aircraft, you might catch a glimpse of some Navy FA-18 Super Hornets. They're conducting training exercises in this area, and they'll be flying alongside us briefly. Nothing to worry about, just a little aerial escort. Enjoy the view." Eli shot up in his seat. "Dad, Navy planes like yours." "Not mine, buddy. I just fixed them." "But they're your planes. Can I look? Can I look?" "Of course, look." Eli pressed his face to the window, searching the sky. Marcus leaned over too, scanning the clouds, the blue expanse, the there. Two FA-18s, sleek and powerful, sliding into formation off the left wing. The sun caught their canopies flashing white. Marcus could see the pilots inside their helmeted heads, their visored faces. His heart clenched. God, he missed it. Missed the roar of the engines, the smell of jet fuel, the pride of watching a bird he'd worked on lift into the sky. Missed being part of something bigger than himself. "They're so fast," Eli breathed. 500 miles an hour, easy. "That's so cool." It was cool. It was everything Marcus had loved and lost. The jets held formation for a minute, 2 minutes. Passengers throughout the cabin were pointing, taking photos, murmuring to each other. And then something strange happened. The lead jet dipped its wings. Once, twice. A salute. Marcus frowned. Wing dips were a sign of respect. A greeting between pilots. But why would they? The jet did it again. And this time the pilot's hand rose to his helmet. A salute. A real salute. Directed at the plane. Directed at Dad, he's waving at us. "I don't think he is, look." Marcus looked. The pilot's hand was unmistakable, now pressed to his visor in a crisp military salute. "What the hell, Mr. Webb?" Marcus turned. The young flight attendant stood in the aisle, and beside her was a woman he hadn't seen before. Tall, poised, dark suit, silver eagles on her collar. A captain, Navy captain. "Mr. Webb," the woman said. "I'm Captain Diana Reyes. May I sit down?" Marcus's mouth went dry. Yes, of course." She slid into the empty seat across the aisle. Her eyes were sharp but not unkind. "The flight attendant tells me your call sign is Phantom." "That's right." "Marcus Webb, Crew Chief, USS Nimitz, 2001 to 2016. "How do you know that?" Captain Reyes smiled. "Because Commander Torres told me." The name hit Marcus like a thunderbolt. Torres. Lieutenant Junior Grade Miguel Torres. The hotshot young pilot with more confidence than sense. The kid who'd nearly gotten himself killed a dozen times before his career even started. The kid Marcus had saved. "Torres," Marcus whispered. "He's a commander now. He's flying that lead jet, the one that just saluted you." Marcus turned to the window. The FA-18 was still there, still holding formation, still impossible. "I don't understand." "He requested this route," Captain Reyes said. "As soon as he found out you were on this flight, he called in every favor he had. He wanted to see you, wanted to thank you." "Thank me for what?" "Mr. Webb." Her voice softened. "You saved his life. You know that, right?" The memory hit Marcus like a wave. 2009. USS Nimitz. A night so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Lieutenant Torres was scheduled for a routine training flight. His jet was cleared, fueled, ready to go. Everyone said it was fine. But something nagged at Marcus. A feeling, an instinct. He'd walked the flight deck 1,000 times, checked 1,000 planes, and something about Torres's bird didn't sit right. He'd demanded another inspection. His supervisor said no. Said they were behind schedule. Said Torres needed to fly. Marcus did it anyway. And he found it. A hairline crack in the hydraulic line. Invisible to the naked eye. But at altitude under pressure, it would have ruptured. Torres would have lost control. Would have punched out over the ocean if he was lucky. Would have died if he wasn't. Marcus reported the fault. The flight was scrubbed. Torres never flew that jet. He never knew how close he'd come. "That was 15 years ago," Marcus said. He never forgot. "It was just my job." No, Captain Reyes leaned forward. It was more than that. Torres tells everyone about you. The ghost who worked the night shift. The man who could see what nobody else could see. You're a legend on the Nimitz, Mr. Webb. You always have been. Marcus shook his head. I'm not a legend. I'm nobody. I mop floors. You mop floors now, but that's not who you are. That's not who you've ever been. Eli tugged his sleeve. Dad, what's happening? Marcus looked at his son, at the confusion and wonder in his eyes. I don't know, buddy, he said honestly. I really don't know. The captain's voice came over the intercom again, but this time it was different, rougher, emotional. Ladies and gentlemen, I need your attention for a moment. We have a very special passenger on board today. His name is Marcus Webb. He served 18 years in the United States Navy as an aircraft maintenance chief. Call sign Phantom. Murmurs rippled through the cabin. Most of you have never heard of Chief Webb. That's because men like him don't get headlines. They don't get medals. They don't get parades. They work in the shadows, in the grease and the grime, keeping our pilots alive and our planes in the air. Chief Webb personally saved the lives of at least 12 aviators during his career. 12 men and women who are flying today because of him. The cabin had gone completely silent. The jet's outside your window right now. The lead pilot is Commander Miguel Torres. 15 years ago, Chief Webb found a fault in Commander Torres's aircraft that nobody else caught. A fault that would have killed him. Commander Torres requested this escort personally. He wanted to say thank you. He wanted Chief Webb to know that he's never been forgotten. Marcus's vision blurred, his throat closed. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask everyone to join me in recognizing Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, call sign Phantom, an American hero. The cabin erupted, applause, cheers, strangers craning their necks to look at row 14. The businessman who'd shoved him earlier turned around, his face pale, his expression unreadable. Eli was clapping too, his face shining. Dad. They're clapping for you. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Outside the window, Commander Torres's jet dipped its wings one final time. And Marcus Webb, the invisible man, finally let the tears fall. The applause didn't stop. It rolled through the cabin like thunder, wave after wave, and Marcus sat frozen in his seat, unable to move, unable to think. Eli was bouncing beside him, clapping so hard his small hands must have hurt, and strangers were turning around, craning their necks, some of them standing up to get a better look at row 14. At him. At the invisible man who had suddenly become visible. Dad, they're all looking at you. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. His voice came out rough, broken. I know, buddy. I know. Captain Reyes was still sitting across the aisle watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Respect, maybe, or something deeper. How are you holding up? She asked. I don't know how to answer that. That's fair. The applause finally began to fade, replaced by murmurs and whispers, and the sound of phones being pulled out. Marcus could feel the weight of attention pressing down on him, suffocating in its intensity. He'd spent so many years being overlooked, being invisible, being nothing. And now suddenly everyone was looking. He didn't know which was worse. Mr. Webb. He turned. Captain Reyes was holding something out to him. An envelope, plain white, his name written on the front in neat, careful handwriting. Commander Torres asked me to give this to you. Marcus took the envelope. His hands were trembling. What is it? A letter. He wrote it last night when he found out you'd be on this flight. How did he know I'd be on this flight? Captain Reyes smiled. The Navy has its ways. Torres has been tracking your movements for years, Mr. Webb. Quietly, from a distance. He's tried to reach out before, but you're a hard man to find. Marcus stared at the envelope. His name stared back at him. I didn't know anyone was looking. A lot of people have been looking. You just didn't know it. She stood up, smoothing her jacket. I'll give you some privacy. Read the letter. Take your time. I'll be in first class if you need me." She walked away, and Marcus was left holding the envelope like it might explode. "Dad, what's that?" "A letter. From the pilot." "Yeah, from the pilot." Eli's eyes went wide. "Are you going to read it?" Marcus looked at his son, at the hope in his face, the excitement. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I'm going to read it." He slid his finger under the flap and opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper folded in thirds. He pulled it out, unfolded it, and began to read. Chief Webb. "I don't know if you remember me. I was just a young lieutenant when we crossed paths, too cocky for my own good, too stupid to know how close I came to dying. But you knew. You always knew. I've replayed that night 1,000 times. The night you pulled my bird from the flight line. The night you found the crack that nobody else could see. My supervisor told me later that if I'd flown that jet, I wouldn't have made it back. The hydraulic failure would have happened at altitude, and I would have gone down over the Pacific with no chance of ejecting in time. You saved my life, Chief, and you never said a word about it. You just went back to work like it was nothing. Like saving a man's life was just another task on your checklist. I've thought about you every single day since then. Every time I climb into a cockpit, I think about the man who made it possible. Every time I come home to my wife and kids, I think about the ghost who gave me a future. I heard through the grapevine that you've fallen on hard times. That breaks my heart, Chief. It breaks my heart because you deserve better. You deserve so much better. I don't know what tomorrow holds for you, but I want you to know this. You are not invisible. You have never been invisible. Not to me. Not to the 12 other pilots whose lives you saved. Not to the hundreds of men and women who flew safely because you did your job better than anyone else ever could. You taught me something once. You probably don't remember saying it, but I've never forgotten. You said, a true pilot isn't just the one in the cockpit. It's the one who keeps the bird in the air when everyone else has given up. That's you, Chief. That's always been you. Today, I wanted to return the salute. I wanted you to know that the sky hasn't forgotten you. That I haven't forgotten you. That none of us ever will. Thank you for my life. Semper Fortis. Commander Miguel Torres. Marcus read the letter once, then again, then a third time. The words blurred as tears filled his eyes. He pressed the paper to his chest, his shoulders shaking, 15 years of silence and struggle, and invisible pain breaking loose all at once. Dad, are you okay? Eli's voice was frightened now. Marcus forced himself to breathe, to pull it together to be the father his son needed. I'm okay, buddy. I'm okay. Why are you crying? Because... Marcus swallowed hard. Because sometimes people surprise you. Sometimes they remember things you thought everyone forgot. Eli looked at the letter. What did he say? He said thank you. For what? For doing my job. Eli frowned, confused. That made you cry? Marcus laughed. It came out wet and broken. Yeah, buddy, that made me cry. He folded the letter carefully, reverently, and slid it back into the envelope. Then he tucked it into his jacket pocket close to his heart, where it belonged. Outside the window, the FA-18s were gone. The sky was empty again. But something had shifted. Something fundamental. Marcus Webb didn't feel invisible anymore. The flight attendant with the kind eyes appeared at his row, her face soft with emotion. Mr. Webb, is there anything I can get you? Anything at all? No, Please, it would be my honor. Marcus looked at Eli, at his son's hopeful face. Actually, my son was hungry earlier. I didn't have... He couldn't finish the sentence. The shame was still too fresh. But the flight attendant just smiled. Say no more, I'll be right back. She disappeared toward the front of the plane, and Marcus sat back exhausted, emotionally drained. Eli leaned against him, his small body warm and solid and real. "Dad, yeah, I'm proud of you." The words hit Marcus harder than anything else that had happened today. Harder than the salute, harder than the letter, harder than the applause. His 8-year-old son was proud of him. "Thanks, buddy," he whispered. "That means everything." A few minutes later, the flight attendant returned. She was carrying a tray loaded with food. Not just snacks, real food. Sandwiches and fruit and cookies and juice boxes and a bottle of water. "From the first-class galley," she said, setting it down. "Compliments of Captain Reyes." Marcus stared at the food. His throat tightened. "I can't accept this." "You can, and you will." The flight attendant's voice was firm but gentle. "Captain Reyes insists, and frankly, so do I." Eli was already reaching for a sandwich. Dad looked turkey. "Eli, wait. It's okay, Mr. Webb." The flight attendant touched his arm. "Let him eat. Let yourself eat. You've earned it." She walked away before he could protest further. Marcus looked at the food, looked at his son, who was already tearing into the sandwich with the enthusiasm only a hungry 8-year-old could muster. And slowly, reluctantly, Marcus picked up a sandwich of his own. It was the best thing he'd tasted in months. They ate in silence for a while. Father and son, the hum of the engines filling the quiet. The cabin had settled down, the excitement fading, but Marcus could still feel eyes on him. Curious glances, whispered conversations. He tried to ignore it, tried to focus on the food, on Eli, on the simple act of being present. But his mind kept drifting back to the letter, to Torres, to the words that had cracked something open inside him. "You are not invisible." How many years had he spent believing the opposite? How many nights had he lain awake staring at the ceiling, convinced that he didn't matter, that his life had peaked on the deck of an aircraft carrier, and everything since then was just a slow fade into nothing. And now, 30,000 feet above the earth, a man he'd saved 15 years ago was telling him he was wrong. "Excuse me." Marcus looked up. The businessman from earlier was standing in the aisle, the one who'd shoved him, who'd told him to move, who'd made him feel small and worthless in front of his son. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Yeah." The man's face was different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something uncomfortable, awkward. I wanted to apologize." Marcus said nothing, just waited. "Earlier, when I pushed past you, that was—" The man cleared his throat. "That was wrong. I didn't know who you were." "Would it have mattered?" The question hung in the air. The businessman shifted his weight, clearly unprepared for it. I'd like to think it would have. But you're not sure." Silence. The man's face reddened. "Look," Marcus said, his voice quiet but steady. "I appreciate the apology. I do. But here's the thing. You shouldn't need to know someone's story to treat them with basic respect. You shouldn't need to find out they're a veteran or a hero or whatever to decide they deserve common decency." The businessman swallowed hard. "You're right. My son was watching. He saw how you treated me. He's 8 years old, and he's already learning that some people only matter if they have the right clothes or the right job or the right story. Is that the lesson you want to teach? No, it's not. Then do better, not for me, for the next guy in worn-out shoes who's just trying to get where he's going." The man nodded slowly. His eyes were wet. "I will. I'm sorry. Truly." He walked away, and Eli looked up at his father with something like awe. "Dad, that was awesome." Marcus let out a long breath. "It was just the truth, buddy. You weren't mean. You were just honest. Sometimes that's enough." Eli thought about this for a moment. Then he said, "I want to be like you when I grow up." Marcus pulled his son close. You're gonna be better, kid. So much better. An hour passed, then another. The plane droned on, carrying them west, carrying them toward a future that felt suddenly impossibly brighter. Marcus dozed for a while, Eli's head on his shoulder, the letter in his pocket pressing against his chest like a heartbeat. He dreamed of the Nimitz, of jet engines roaring, of Sarah standing on the dock waving as his ship pulled into port. He woke with tears on his cheeks and Eli shaking his arm. Dad, wake up. What is it? The captain lady is back. Marcus blinked. Captain Reyes was standing in the aisle again, but this time she wasn't alone. A man stood beside her. Tall, Hispanic, gray at his temples, wearing a navy dress uniform with commander's insignia on the collar. Marcus's heart stopped. Torres. Chief Webb. The voice was deeper than Marcus remembered. Older, but it was him. The cocky young lieutenant who'd argued with him about flight clearances. The kid who'd nearly died because he didn't listen. The man who'd written the letter. Torres, Marcus breathed. How are you? How are you here? Commander Torres smiled. I landed at the airport about 20 minutes ago. Captain Reyes arranged for me to meet the plane at the gate. I couldn't let you walk off without seeing you face to face. Marcus tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. Torres held up a hand. Stay seated, Chief. I'll come to you. He slid into the row behind Marcus, leaning over the seat so they were almost face to face. His eyes were bright with emotion. 15 years, Torres said. 15 years I've wanted to thank you properly. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Chief, you have no idea what you did for me, what you gave me. Marcus shook his head. I just did my job. No. You did more than that. You fought for me. When everyone else said I was cleared to fly, you said no. You put your career on the line to save mine. Do you remember what your supervisor said? Marcus remembered. He'd tried to forget, but he remembered. He said I was paranoid, said I was holding up the schedule. And what did you do? I checked anyway. You checked anyway. Torres's voice cracked. You crawled under my bird in the middle of the night with a flashlight and a mirror, and you found a crack the size of a hair, a crack that would have killed me. I was just doing... Stop saying that. Torres's voice was firm now. Stop diminishing what you did. You saved my life, Chief. You gave me everything. My career, my wife, my 2 daughters. Every single day I've had since then is because of you. Marcus couldn't speak. The words were stuck in his throat. I have pictures, Torres said, of my girls. Do you want to see them? He pulled out his phone before Marcus could answer, swiped through photos. 2 little girls, maybe 6 and 8, with their father's dark eyes and their mother's bright smile. Isabella and Sophia. They exist because of you. Their lives, their futures, everything they'll ever do or be. Because you didn't let me fly that night. Marcus looked at the photos, at the little faces, at the family that existed because he'd trusted his gut. They're beautiful, he whispered. They know about you. I've told them the story 100 times. The ghost who saved Daddy's life. They made you a card. Torres reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of construction paper. Crayon drawings covered the front. A plane, a ship, a stick figure with the word Phantom spelled out in wobbly letters. They didn't know how to spell phantom, Torres said with a wet laugh. But they got the idea. Marcus took the card with trembling hands, opened it. Inside, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for saving our daddy. We love you." He broke. The tears came hard and fast, and he didn't try to stop them. 15 years of grief and guilt and loneliness poured out, and Marcus wept openly, clutching a construction paper card like it was the most precious thing in the world. Because it was. It was proof that his life had mattered, that his invisible years on that carrier deck had meant something, that his sacrifice and his skill and his quiet dedication had rippled outward in ways he'd never imagined. Eli watched with wide eyes. "Dad, are you okay?" Marcus nodded, unable to speak. Torres reached over the seat and put a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, Chief. Let it out." "I didn't know," Marcus managed. "I never knew it mattered." "It mattered. It always mattered." They sat like that for a long moment, the commander's hand on the chief's shoulder. Two men connected by a single night 15 years ago. Around them, the cabin was quiet. Passengers watched but didn't intrude. Even Eli seemed to understand that something sacred was happening. Finally, Marcus wiped his eyes, took a shaky breath. "Thank you," he said. "For the letter, for the salute, for finding me." "Thank you for being worth finding." Torres straightened up. "There's one more thing. Captain Reyes told me about your interview tomorrow. Maintenance supervisor at Naval Base San Diego." Marcus nodded. "Yeah, it's my last shot." "No, Chief. It's your first shot." Torres reached into his jacket again. "I made some calls this morning. Talked to some people who owe me favors. The base commander is a friend. He's looking forward to meeting you." He handed Marcus a business card. On the back, a handwritten note. "Call me directly. The job is yours if you want it. Captain James Mitchell, Base Commander." Marcus stared at the card. "I don't understand." "What's to understand? You're the best maintenance chief I ever knew. The best anyone ever knew. You think we're going to let you mop floors for the rest of your life. But I haven't even interviewed yet." "The interview is a formality now. Mitchell read your service record. He knows what you did on the Nimitz. He knows what you're capable of." Torres smiled. "You've got the job, Chief. All you have to do is show up." Marcus's hands shook. "Torres, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. You've spent years taking care of everyone else. Let someone take care of you for once." "But it's charity." "It's not charity. It's justice." Torres's voice hardened. "You served your country for 18 years. You saved lives. You sacrificed everything. And what did you get in return?" "Nothing. Less than nothing. That's not right, Chief. That's never been right." He leaned closer. "You deserve this. You've earned this. Not because I owe you my life, but because this country owes you. Let me start paying that debt." Marcus looked at the business card, at the handwritten note, at the promise of a future he'd stopped believing in. Then he looked at Eli, at his son, who was watching with hope blazing in his eyes. "Okay," Marcus whispered. "Okay." Torres grinned. "Good man." He stood up. "I have to go. There's a debrief waiting for me, and my wife will kill me if I miss dinner again. But Chief, yeah. This isn't goodbye. This is just the beginning. I'll see you on base tomorrow." He extended his hand. Marcus took it. The grip was firm, strong, full of unspoken meaning. "Semper Fortis, Chief." "Semper Fortis, Commander." Torres walked away, and Marcus sat back in his seat, the business card still clutched in his hand, his heart pounding, his mind reeling. Eli tugged his sleeve. "Dad." "Yeah, buddy." "Did you just get a job?" Marcus looked at the card, at the words that promised a new life. "Yeah," he said slowly, a smile spreading across his face. "Yeah, I think I did. So we're gonna be okay." Marcus pulled his son close, held him tight, felt the warmth of him, the realness of him. "We're gonna be more than okay, buddy. We're gonna be great." The plane began its descent into San Diego. Through the window, Marcus could see the Pacific Ocean stretching toward the horizon, blue and endless, and full of possibility. Behind him, the life he'd known was fading. Ahead of him, something new was waiting to be born. And for the first time in 8 years, Marcus Webb believed that the future might actually be worth reaching. The wheels touched down with a jolt, and Eli grabbed Marcus's arm. "We're here, Dad, we're here." Marcus nodded, but his mind was somewhere else, still processing, still trying to make sense of everything that had happened in the last 4 hours. The salute, the letter, Torres, the job offer. It felt like a dream, the kind you wake up from and immediately start to forget. But the business card in his pocket was real. The construction paper card from Torres's daughters was real. The warmth spreading through his chest was real. "Dad, you okay?" "Yeah, buddy, just thinking." "About what?" Marcus looked at his son, at those innocent eyes full of trust and hope. About how much can change in a single day. The plane taxied to the gate, and passengers began gathering their things. Marcus reached under the seat for his duffel bag, but before he could grab it, the businessman from earlier appeared in the aisle. "Let me get that for you." Marcus looked up. The man's face was earnest now, stripped of the arrogance that had defined him earlier. "You don't have to." "Please, it's the least I can do." He hoisted the duffel bag from under the seat and handed it to Marcus. Their eyes met. "Thank you," Marcus said. "For the apology earlier. It took guts. It took you calling me out." The man extended his hand. "Richard Brennan. I run a logistics company in San Diego. If you ever need anything at all, look me up." Marcus shook his hand. "I appreciate that. I mean it. After what I heard today, after what you did for this country, I'm ashamed of how I treated you. That's going to stick with me for a long time. Let it change you. That's all I ask." Richard nodded slowly. "It already has." He moved on, and Eli looked up at Marcus with wonder. "Dad, everyone's being so nice now." "People are complicated, buddy. Sometimes they just need a reminder to be their best selves." "Is that what you gave him? A reminder?" Marcus smiled. "Something like that." They filed off the plane slowly, Marcus keeping Eli close in the crowded aisle. As they stepped through the door into the jetway, the flight attendant with the kind eyes was waiting. "Mr. Webb?" "Yes." She pressed something into his hand. A folded piece of paper. "My grandfather's name was William Chen. He served on the USS Midway. He always said the same thing you told that businessman, that people deserve basic respect regardless of their story." Her eyes glistened. "He would have liked you." Marcus looked at the paper. A phone number was written on it. "What's this?" "My uncle runs a veterans support organization here in San Diego. If you ever need help, resources, anything, he's a good man, like you." "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just take care of yourself. And that beautiful boy." She touched Eli's head gently, then disappeared back into the plane. Marcus stood there for a moment, overwhelmed, the paper clutched in his hand. "Dad." "Come on, we're blocking people." "Right, sorry. Let's go." They walked up the jetway and into the terminal, and Marcus felt like he was entering a different world. The same world he'd left in Chicago, but somehow transformed. Brighter, fuller. "Marcus?" A woman's voice cut through the crowd. Marcus turned and saw her running toward him. Dark hair, warm eyes, a smile that reminded him so much of Sarah, it made his heart ache. "Linda." His sister threw her arms around him, squeezing tight. "Oh my God, Marcus. Oh my God." "Hey, sis." "I saw it. I saw everything." Marcus pulled back. "Saw what?" "Someone on the plane posted a video. It's everywhere. The jets, the salute, the captain's announcement. It's gone viral, Marcus. You're all over the news." His stomach dropped. "What?" Linda pulled out her phone, swiping frantically. "Look, 3 million views already. CNN picked it up. Fox, everyone's talking about it." She held up the screen. Marcus saw himself sitting in seat 14C, tears streaming down his face, as the captain's voice played over the speakers. Eli was visible beside him, clapping, his face radiant with joy. "I didn't know anyone was filming." Of course they were filming. Everyone films everything these days. Linda grabbed his arm. Marcus, this is incredible. Do you understand what this means? I don't know what it means. It means people are going to know your story. It means you're not invisible anymore. Those words again. The same words Torres had written. The same words that had cracked something open inside him. You are not invisible. Uncle Marcus. A small body slammed into his legs. Marcus looked down to see his niece Sophie, 8 years old, with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile. Hey, Munchkin. He scooped her up and she wrapped her arms around his neck. Mommy said you're a hero. I'm not a hero, sweetheart. Yes, you are. I saw the video. The planes came just for you. Marcus didn't know how to respond. He looked at Linda helpless. Come on, she said, taking Eli's hand. Let's get you guys home. You must be exhausted. They walked through the terminal, and Marcus felt eyes on him. People were looking, whispering. Some of them pointed. A few held up phones. Is that him? That's the guy from the video. Navy hero. Can you believe it? Marcus kept his head down and walked faster. He'd spent his whole life avoiding attention. Being invisible was comfortable, safe. This was something else entirely. Dad, people are staring. I know, buddy. Just keep walking. They made it to the parking garage, and Linda led them to her minivan. Marcus helped Eli into the back seat, then climbed into the front. You okay? Linda asked as she started the engine. I don't know. This is a lot. I can imagine. She pulled out of the space and headed for the exit. But Marcus, this could be good. This could change everything for you. Things are already changing. Torres? Commander Torres, the pilot who flew alongside the plane. He got me a job. Linda nearly swerved into a pillar. What? Maintenance supervisor at Naval Base San Diego. He talked to the base commander. The job is mine if I want it. Marcus. Linda's voice was shaking. Are you serious? I have the business card in my pocket. Oh my God. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face as she drove. Oh my God, Marcus. After everything you've been through, after all these years. I know. Sarah would be so happy. She'd be so proud of you. The mention of his wife's name hit him like a blow. Sarah. He'd been thinking about her all day, but hearing her name spoken aloud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. I hope so, he said quietly. I hope she's watching. They drove in silence for a while, the San Diego skyline glittering in the distance. Eli and Sophie were chattering in the back seat, already fast friends, their laughter filling the van. Marcus. Yeah. I need to tell you something. Her tone made him nervous. What is it? I got a call today, before your plane landed, from a producer at CNN. Marcus's heart sank. No. They want to interview you, tell your story. The single dad, the fallen hero, the sky salute. They're calling it the most inspiring story of the year. No. Marcus. I said no. I'm not a show pony, Linda. I'm not going to parade my life on television for ratings. It's not about ratings, it's about your story. People need to hear it. They've heard enough. The video is out there, that's more than enough. But think about what you could do. Think about the other veterans out there who are struggling, who feel invisible, who think nobody cares. Your story could give them hope. Marcus clenched his jaw. She wasn't wrong. He knew she wasn't wrong. But the thought of sitting in front of cameras talking about Sarah, talking about his failures, talking about the years he spent mopping floors and eating 1 meal a day so Eli could have 3. I can't, he said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Linda sighed. Okay, I won't push. But the offer stands. They're not the only ones who've called, by the way. I've got messages from 3 newspapers, 2 local stations, and something called a podcast, whatever that is. Delete them all. Marcus. Please, Linda, I just want to see my son smile. I want to eat a real dinner. I want to sleep in a bed that isn't a hospital break room cot. I want to feel like a person again. Is that too much to ask? Linda reached over and squeezed his hand. No, that's not too much to ask. You're right. Tonight is about family. The rest can wait. They pulled into Linda's driveway, a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. Marcus helped Eli out of the van, grabbed his duffel bag, and stood there for a moment, just breathing. It's not much, Linda said, but it's home, and it's yours for as long as you need it. It's perfect. Thank you, sis. They went inside, and Linda's husband, Dave, was waiting in the living room. He was a big man, former Army with a handshake that could crush walnuts. Marcus, good to see you, brother. You too, Dave. Hell of a day you had. You could say that. Dave clapped him on the shoulder. I've got steaks on the grill. Hope you're hungry. Starving. Good man. Eli, you like steak. Eli's eyes went wide. I love steak. Then you're in the right place. Come on, let's go check on the grill. Dave led Eli toward the backyard, and Marcus watched them go, a lump forming in his throat. This was what he'd been missing. Family, warmth, belonging. Marcus? He turned. Linda was holding out a glass of water. Thanks. You look like you were about to fall over. I feel like it too. Go sit down. Dinner will be ready soon. You can relax. But Marcus couldn't relax. His mind was spinning, replaying the day over and over. The businessman shoving him. The flight attendant's kindness. Captain Reyes with the letter. Torres in the aisle, tears in his eyes. He wandered into the living room and sank onto the couch. On the coffee table, a framed photograph caught his eye. He picked it up. Sarah. It was from their wedding day. She was laughing, her head thrown back, her white dress billowing in the wind. Marcus stood beside her, younger, happier, full of hope for a future that had been stolen from them both. I still miss her. Linda had followed him. She sat down beside him, her voice gentle. I know you do. Every single day. I wake up and reach for her, and she's not there. 8 years, Linda. 8 years, and it still feels like yesterday. Grief doesn't have a timeline. I know. But sometimes I wonder if I'll ever feel whole again. If there's a version of me that isn't broken. Linda took his hand. You're not broken, Marcus. You're wounded. There's a difference. Broken things can't be fixed. Wounded things heal. Do they? Yes. I've watched you fight for 8 years. Fight to survive. Fight to raise Eli. Fight to keep going when everything in you wanted to stop. That's not broken, Marcus. That's the strongest thing I've ever seen. Marcus looked at the photograph. At Sarah's laughing face. She would have loved Eli so much. She does love him. Wherever she is, she's watching over both of you. You believe that? With all my heart. Marcus set the photograph down. Took a shaky breath. I got offered a job today. A real job. And all I could think was that I wanted to call Sarah and tell her. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted her to be proud of me. She is proud of you. How do you know? Because I'm proud of you, and I'm just your sister. Imagine how the woman who loved you more than life itself must feel. The tears came then. Marcus didn't try to stop them. He'd cried more today than he had in years, and somehow each time he felt a little lighter, like the grief was finally finding a way out. I'm scared, Linda. Of what? Of hoping, of believing things might actually get better. I've been disappointed so many times. I don't know if I can handle it again. Then don't think about the future. Think about right now. Right now you're safe. Right now your son is in the backyard laughing with his cousin. Right now you have a family who loves you. That's enough, Marcus. That's more than enough. He nodded slowly, wiped his eyes. You're right. You're always right. Damn straight I am. Now come on. Let's go eat some steak before Dave burns them. They walked to the backyard together, and Marcus stepped into the warm evening air. Eli was running around with Sophie chasing fireflies, his laughter echoing through the yard. Dave stood at the grill flipping steaks with the confidence of a man who knew his way around a barbecue. "There he is," Dave called out. "The man of the hour. Get over here and tell me how you like your steak." "Medium rare. A man after my own heart." Marcus walked to the grill and stood beside Dave, watching the steaks sizzle. "Hell of a thing what happened today," Dave said quietly. "Yeah. You know, when Linda told me you were coming, I wasn't sure what to expect. She said you were struggling. Said you'd had a rough few years. That's putting it mildly. But then I saw that video. I saw those jets saluting you. And I thought, that's not a man who's struggling. That's a man who's been carrying the world on his shoulders and never complained about it." Marcus didn't know what to say. "I did 2 tours in Iraq," Dave continued. "Saw things I'll never forget, lost friends. Came home with a head full of nightmares and a heart full of holes. You know what saved me? What? Linda, family, having something to come home to." He flipped a steak. "You've been doing this alone for 8 years, Marcus, raising that boy without any help, working yourself to death. That's not strength, that's stubbornness, and it's going to kill you if you let it." "I didn't have a choice." "Bullshit. You had choices. You just didn't take them. You were too proud, too scared, too convinced that you didn't deserve help." Marcus flinched. The words hit too close to home. "But here's the thing," Dave said, turning to face him. "You're here now. You took the flight. You accepted the interview. You let Torres help you. That's growth, brother. That's progress." "It doesn't feel like progress. It feels like desperation." "Sometimes they're the same thing. The point is you're moving forward, and you've got people in your corner now. Linda, me, Torres. Half the damn country judging by that video." He put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You're not alone anymore, Marcus. Let us help you carry the weight." Marcus looked at Dave, at the sincerity in his eyes, at the offer of brotherhood. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay." Dave grinned. "Good. Now grab a plate. These steaks are done." They ate dinner on the patio, the 4 adults and 2 kids crowded around a table that was too small, passing dishes and talking over each other, and laughing at jokes that weren't that funny. Marcus ate until he was stuffed, then ate some more. He couldn't remember the last time he'd had a real meal with real people who actually cared about him. Eli fell asleep in his chair, his head lolling to the side, a smear of barbecue sauce on his cheek. Marcus watched him, his heart swelling with love. "He's a good kid," Linda said softly. "He's the best kid. You've done an amazing job with him, Marcus. Truly. I just tried not to screw up. That's parenting in a nutshell." She smiled. "Come on, let's get them to bed. You've got a big day tomorrow." Marcus carried Eli inside and laid him gently on the guest bed. The boy stirred, his eyes fluttering open. "Dad." "Hey, buddy, go back to sleep." "Are we home?" "Home." The word hung in the air. "Yeah," Marcus said slowly. "Yeah, I think we are." Eli smiled and closed his eyes. Within seconds, he was asleep again. Marcus stood there for a long moment watching his son breathe. In and out. In and out. The rhythm of it steady and sure. Tomorrow he would go to the naval base. Tomorrow he would shake hands with Captain Mitchell and sign paperwork and start a new chapter. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight he was just a father watching his son sleep, and that was enough. He bent down and kissed Eli's forehead. "I love you, buddy, more than you'll ever know." Then he walked to the window and looked out at the night sky. Somewhere out there, the stars were shining. Somewhere out there, Sarah was watching. And somewhere deep in his chest, Marcus Webb felt something he hadn't felt in 8 years. Hope. It was fragile, tentative, easily broken. But it was there. And for now, that was everything. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He lay in the guest bed staring at the ceiling, his mind racing through everything that had happened and everything that was about to happen. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the FA-18s. He saw Torres's face. He saw Sarah laughing in her wedding dress, fading into the darkness. At 4 a.m., he gave up and got out of bed. The house was quiet. He padded to the kitchen in his bare feet, found the coffee maker, and started a pot. The familiar routine calmed him. Water, filter, grounds, button. The hiss and gurgle of brewing coffee filled the silence. Couldn't sleep either. Marcus turned. Dave was standing in the doorway wearing a faded army t-shirt and sweatpants. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. You didn't. I'm always up this early. Old habits. Dave walked to the cabinet and pulled out 2 mugs. Cream sugar. Black. A purist. I respect that. They sat at the kitchen table drinking coffee in the pre-dawn darkness. Neither spoke for a long time. Nervous? Dave finally asked. Terrified. Good. Means you care. What if I screw this up? You won't. How do you know? Dave set down his mug. Because I've seen your service record. Linda showed it to me last night. 18 years. 0 incidents. 12 confirmed saves. You know how rare that is? Most maintenance chiefs go their whole careers without a single save. You've got 12. That was a long time ago. Skills don't disappear, Marcus. They just get rusty. And rust can be scraped off. Marcus stared into his coffee. I haven't worked on a plane in 8 years. The technology has changed. The procedures have changed. What if I can't keep up? Then you'll learn. That's what you do. That's what you've always done. Dave leaned forward. Listen to me. I've met a lot of men in my life. Good men, bad men. Men who talked big and crumbled under pressure. Men who said nothing and stood like rocks when everything went to hell. You're the second kind, Marcus. I knew it the moment I met you. You just met me yesterday. Doesn't matter. Some things you can see right away. Dave finished his coffee. You're going to walk into that base today, and you're going to show them who you are. Not the guy who mops floors. Not the single dad who can't afford a snack box. The real you. Phantom. The ghost who sees what nobody else can see. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. A loosening. A release. Thank you, Dave. Don't thank me. Just don't screw up. Linda will never let me hear the end of it. They both laughed, and for a moment the fear receded. Just for a moment. The sun rose slowly, painting the kitchen in shades of gold. Linda appeared around 6, followed by Sophie, who immediately demanded pancakes. The house came alive with noise and movement and the smell of breakfast cooking. Marcus showered and put on his best clothes, which wasn't saying much. A button-down shirt that was slightly wrinkled. Khakis that were slightly faded. Shoes that were slightly worn. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw a tired man staring back. You can do this, he told his reflection. You have to do this. The reflection didn't look convinced. Dad. Eli appeared in the doorway, still in his pajamas, his hair sticking up in every direction. Hey, buddy, you're up early. I wanted to see you before you go. Marcus knelt down so they were eye level. I'll be back soon. Aunt Linda is going to take care of you while I'm gone. I know. Eli fidgeted. Dad? Yeah. What if they don't like you? The question hit Marcus like a punch. His son's fear so naked and honest, reflecting his own. Then I'll find something else. We'll figure it out together. We always do. But what if you don't get the job? What if we have to go back to Chicago? Marcus pulled Eli into a hug, held him tight. Listen to me. No matter what happens today, we're going to be okay. You and me. That's all that matters. I don't need a job to take care of you. I just need you. Understand? Eli nodded against his chest. I understand. Good. Now go eat some pancakes. I hear Aunt Linda makes them with chocolate chips. Eli's eyes lit up. Really? Really? Go on. The boy ran off, and Marcus stood there for a moment gathering himself. Then he grabbed Torres's business card from his jacket pocket and headed for the door. Linda was waiting with her car keys. "Ready?" "No, let's go anyway." The drive to the naval base took 20 minutes. Marcus spent most of it staring out the window, watching the city slide by, trying to calm the storm in his chest. "You're going to be great," Linda said. "You keep saying that, because it's true. What if it isn't? Then I'll say it louder until it becomes true." Marcus smiled despite himself. "You're ridiculous. I'm your sister. It's my job." They pulled up to the base entrance, and Marcus felt his stomach clench. The security checkpoint, the guard shack, the American flag snapping in the morning breeze. He'd been on dozens of bases during his career, but walking onto one as a civilian felt different, foreign. "I can come in with you," Linda offered. "No, I need to do this alone." "Okay, I'll be right here when you're done." Marcus got out of the car and walked toward the gate. The guard checked his ID, made a phone call, and waved him through with a nod. "Captain Mitchell is expecting you. Administration building, 2nd floor." "Thank you." He walked across the base, his heart pounding. Everywhere he looked, he saw memories. Not of this base specifically, but of the life he'd left behind. The uniforms, the flags, the distant roar of jets taking off. This was home. This had always been home. He just hadn't realized how much he'd missed it. The administration building was a squat concrete structure that looked like it had been built in the 60s and hadn't been updated since. Marcus climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor and found Captain Mitchell's office at the end of the hall. He knocked. "Come in." Marcus opened the door and stepped inside. A man in his 50s sat behind a large desk, silver eagles on his collar, a chest full of ribbons. He looked up from a stack of papers and smiled. "Chief Webb, or should I say Phantom?" "Just Marcus is fine, sir." "Have a seat, Marcus." Marcus sat his back straight, his hands folded in his lap. Old habits. "Commander Torres speaks very highly of you," Captain Mitchell said, leaning back in his chair. "Very highly. He called you the best maintenance chief he ever served with. Torres is generous. Torres is honest. I've known him for 15 years. He doesn't exaggerate." Mitchell picked up a folder from his desk. "I've been reviewing your service record. Impressive stuff. 18 years, 0 incidents, 12 confirmed saves, commendations from 3 different commanding officers." "That was a long time ago, sir." 8 years. That's not that long. Long enough to forget." "Did you forget?" Marcus hesitated. "No, sir, I didn't." "Then why did you leave?" The question hung in the air. Marcus had known it was coming, had dreaded it. "My wife died," he said quietly. "During childbirth. I had a newborn son and no way to care for him while deployed. The Navy offered shore duty, but I couldn't. I couldn't focus. Couldn't think straight. I was a liability." "So you separated." "Honorable discharge. I thought I'd find work in the civilian world. Use my skills. But—" He trailed off. But nobody wanted a maintenance chief without a degree. Nobody cared about my experience. I couldn't get an interview anywhere that mattered, so I took what I could find. Warehouse work, factory jobs, night shifts at a hospital mopping floors. For 8 years. Yes, sir. Captain Mitchell set down the folder. His expression was unreadable. "Do you know why I agreed to this meeting, Marcus?" "Because Torres asked you to." "No. I agreed because of what Torres told me about you. Not your record, not your commendations. He told me about a night 15 years ago when everyone said his bird was clear to fly and you said no. He told me about how you crawled under that jet in the middle of the night by yourself and found a fault that would have killed him. I was just doing my job." "Stop saying that." Mitchell's voice sharpened. "Every time someone praises you, you deflect. Every time someone acknowledges your skill, you minimize it. Why?" Marcus didn't have an answer. I'll tell you why, Mitchell continued. Because you've spent 8 years being invisible, being overlooked, being told you don't matter, and you started to believe it. You started to believe that the man who saved 12 lives was somehow less valuable than the guy pushing a mop. Sir, I'm not finished. Mitchell stood up and walked around the desk, sitting on the edge so he was closer to Marcus. I've been in the Navy for 32 years. I've seen a lot of men. Good men who broke under pressure, average men who rose to the occasion, and every once in a while I meet someone who's genuinely exceptional. Someone who has a gift that can't be taught. Torres says you're one of those people. He says you can see things that nobody else can see. I just pay attention. That's exactly my point. Paying attention is a skill. Most people don't have it. They go through life half asleep, missing the details that matter. You don't. That's why Torres is alive. That's why 12 pilots are alive. Marcus's throat tightened. I'm not offering you this job as a favor to Torres, Mitchell said. I'm offering it because I need someone like you. This base has the highest aircraft turnover on the West Coast. We've got birds coming in and out every day, and I need a maintenance supervisor who can catch the problems before they become disasters. Can you do that? I don't know, sir. It's been a long time. That's not what I asked. Can you do it? Marcus met Mitchell's eyes, saw the challenge there, the expectation, and somewhere deep inside he felt something stir, something that had been dormant for 8 years. Pride. Yes, sir. I can do it. Mitchell smiled. Good. Then the job is yours. Start Monday. We'll get you up to speed on the new systems, introduce you to the team. It's going to be a steep learning curve, but I have a feeling you'll manage. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. I know you won't. Mitchell extended his hand. Welcome back to the Navy, Chief Webb. Marcus shook his hand. The grip was firm, real. One more thing, Mitchell said. Torres mentioned that you're in a tough spot financially. Is that accurate? Marcus hesitated. The shame was still there, lurking beneath the surface. Yes, sir. It's been difficult. We've got housing available on base. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and safe. Good schools nearby for your son. And the pay starts immediately. I can have an advance ready for you by end of day. Marcus stared at him. Sir, I can't. You can and you will. Consider it a signing bonus. Mitchell's voice softened. You've been carrying a heavy load for a long time, Marcus. Let us help lighten it. That's what shipmates do. The word hit Marcus like a wave. Shipmates. He hadn't heard that word in 8 years. Thank you, sir, he managed. Thank you. He walked out of the building in a daze. The sun was bright now, the air warm. Across the base, a jet roared down the runway and lifted into the sky. Marcus watched it climb higher and higher until it was just a speck against the blue. Monday. He started Monday. He pulled out his phone and called Linda. How did it go? I got the job. Her scream was so loud he had to hold the phone away from his ear. Marcus, oh my God, I knew it. I knew it. They're giving us housing too, on base, and an advance on my salary. What, Marcus? That's incredible. I know. I can't believe it. Believe it. You deserve this. You've earned this. He walked toward the gate, his steps lighter than they'd been in years. Linda. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. For letting us stay with you. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. You're my brother. That's what family does. I love you, sis. I love you too. Now get back here. Eli's been asking about you every 5 minutes. He hung up and walked through the gate past the guard shack toward Linda's car waiting in the parking lot. Eli was standing by the door. Marcus stopped. What are you doing here? Aunt Linda brought me. I wanted to know right away. Eli's face was anxious. Did you get it? Dad? Did you get the job? Marcus knelt down, looked his son in the eyes. Yeah, buddy. I got it. Eli threw himself into Marcus's arms, squeezing so hard it hurt. I knew it. I knew they'd love you. You're the best dad. You're the best. Marcus held his son, tears streaming down his face, 8 years of pain and struggle and loneliness finally breaking loose. We did it, buddy, he whispered. We finally did it. They drove back to Linda's house, Eli chattering the whole way about all the things they were going to do now that Dad had a real job. Ice cream, movies, new shoes, a dog maybe. Can we get a dog, Dad, please? We'll see. That means yes. That means we'll see. Linda laughed. He's got your number, Marcus. He's had my number since the day he was born. That afternoon, Marcus made phone calls. To the hospital in Chicago, telling them he wouldn't be coming back. To his landlord, arranging to have his few belongings shipped west. To the Veterans Organization the flight attendant had told him about, just to introduce himself. The woman who answered was named Patricia. She'd been running the organization for 20 years. We saw the video, she said. Everyone saw the video. You're famous, Mr. Webb. I don't want to be famous. Too bad, you are. She laughed warmly. But seriously, if you ever want to get involved, we could use someone like you. Someone who understands what veterans go through. Someone who's been in the darkness and found his way out. I'm not sure I'm out yet. None of us ever fully are. But we help each other. That's how it works. Marcus thought about it. About all the years he'd spent alone. About all the men and women out there right now struggling the way he'd struggled, invisible, the way he'd been invisible. I'd like that, he said. When I get settled, I'd like to help. We'll be here. Welcome to San Diego, Mr. Webb. That evening, they had another family dinner. This time, Dave made burgers. Sophie and Eli played in the yard until the sun went down, their laughter echoing through the neighborhood. Marcus sat on the porch watching them, a beer in his hand. Penny, for your thoughts. Linda sat down beside him. Just thinking about how fast things can change. Yesterday morning I was nobody. Invisible. Broke. Scared. And now you're somebody. I was always somebody. I just forgot. Well, you remember now. That's what matters. They sat in comfortable silence watching the kids play. Marcus. Yeah. Sarah would be so proud of you. You know that, right? His throat tightened. I hope so. I know so. She loved you more than anything, and she knew even back then that you were special. She used to tell me about your call sign, Phantom. She said it fit you perfectly because you were always working in the shadows doing the hard work that nobody saw. She said that all the time. She was so proud of you, Marcus. She never stopped being proud. The tears came again. He didn't fight them. I miss her so much. I know. I miss her too. Linda took his hand. But she's still here. In Eli. In your memories. In the man you've become. She's part of you, Marcus. She always will be. Marcus looked at his son running across the yard, fireflies dancing around him. Sarah's eyes. Sarah's laugh. Sarah's stubborn determination. Yeah, he said quietly. She always will be. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, Marcus crept outside. He stood in the backyard looking up at the stars. I got a job today, he said to the sky. A real job, back in the Navy sort of. Maintenance supervisor. You would have loved it, Sarah. You always said I belonged on a flight line. The stars twinkled. Silent. Eternal. I'm scared, he admitted. I'm scared I'm going to mess it up. I'm scared I'm going to disappoint everyone. I'm scared I'm going to wake up tomorrow and find out this was all a dream. A breeze stirred the trees. Warm. Gentle. But I'm going to try. For Eli. For you. For the men I'm going to work with. I'm going to try to be the man you always believed I could be. He closed his eyes, and for just a moment he felt her. Not a ghost, not a memory. Something more. A presence, a warmth. Love reaching across the void. I love you, Sarah. I'll always love you. The breeze faded. The moment passed. But Marcus knew with a certainty that defied logic that she had heard him. He went back inside, climbed into bed, and for the first time in 8 years, Marcus Webb slept without nightmares. And in his dreams, Sarah smiled. 6 months later, Marcus stood on the flight line at Naval Base San Diego, watching an FA-18 Super Hornet taxi toward the maintenance hangar. The morning sun was warm on his face, and the smell of jet fuel filled his lungs like an old friend returning home. "Chief Webb." He turned. A young petty officer was jogging toward him, clipboard in hand, worry creasing his face. "What is it, Rodriguez?" "Bird 732. The pilot reported a vibration during his last flight. Subtle," he said. "Barely noticeable, but it's been bugging him." Marcus frowned. "Where?" He couldn't pinpoint it. Said it felt like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere. "Get me the maintenance logs, and tell the pilot I want to talk to him." "Yes, Chief." Rodriguez ran off, and Marcus walked toward the hangar, his mind already working through the possibilities. A vibration that felt like everywhere and nowhere. That could be a dozen things, or it could be nothing. Pilots were sensitive to their birds, sometimes too sensitive. But Marcus had learned a long time ago to trust that sensitivity. Pilots knew their jets the way a mother knew her child. When something felt wrong, it usually was. "Chief Webb?" He looked up. Commander Torres was walking toward him, flight suit, unzipped helmet tucked under his arm. "Commander, you flying today?" "Just got back. Training exercise off the coast." Torres fell into step beside him. "How's the new life treating you?" "Can't complain." "That's not an answer." Marcus smiled. "It's treating me well. Better than I deserve." "You deserve everything you've got and more. Don't forget that." They reached the hangar, and Marcus stopped looking at the rows of aircraft lined up inside. His aircraft now. His responsibility. "I never thanked you properly," Marcus said. "For what?" "For finding me. For the letter. For the salute. For all of it. You changed my life, Torres." "You changed mine first. I'm just returning the favor." Torres clapped him on the shoulder. "Besides, you've already repaid me 10 times over. The maintenance record on this base has never been better. Captain Mitchell won't shut up about you. I'm just doing my job." "There it is. That phrase again." Torres shook his head. "You know, one of these days you're going to learn to take a compliment." "Maybe, but not today." They both laughed, and for a moment, it was like no time had passed at all. Two men bound by a night 15 years ago, standing in the shadow of the machines that had brought them together. "I've got to debrief," Torres said. "But we're still on for dinner Saturday, right? Maria's been cooking all week." "Eli hasn't stopped talking about it. He loves your girls." "The feeling's mutual. Isabella asked if Eli could move in." "Tell her she can have him. He eats too much anyway." Torres laughed and walked away, and Marcus turned back to the hangar. The petty officer was waiting with the maintenance logs. "Let's see what we've got." He spent the next 3 hours going over the aircraft with a fine-tooth comb. Checked the engines, checked the hydraulics, checked the flight surfaces. Everything looked fine. Everything was within spec, but that vibration bothered him. "Chief, we've been over it twice. There's nothing there." Marcus didn't respond. He was staring at the landing gear, his mind working through a memory. Something from years ago. A different bird. A different problem. "Get me a mirror," he said. "A mirror. And a flashlight. Small one." Rodriguez ran off and returned with both. Marcus took them and dropped to his knees, sliding under the aircraft until he was directly beneath the left main landing gear. "Chief, what are you looking for?" "I don't know yet." He angled the mirror, using it to see the places his eyes couldn't reach. The flashlight beam played across metal surfaces, searching. There. A hairline fracture in the landing gear strut. So small, it was almost invisible. So small, it wouldn't show up on any standard inspection. But it was there. "Rodriguez, get me Captain Mitchell. Now." What is it, Chief? Just get him. 20 minutes later, Mitchell was standing beside the aircraft, staring at the fracture Marcus had found. How the hell did you see that? I didn't see it. I felt it. The pilot said the vibration was everywhere and nowhere. That's what happens when there's a stress fracture in a load-bearing component. The whole airframe resonates. If he'd landed hard with that, the strut would have collapsed. Best case, he'd have lost the bird. Worst case, Mitchell nodded slowly. Worst case, he'd be dead. Yes, sir. The captain looked at Marcus with something like wonder. 6 months, Chief. You've been here 6 months, and you've already caught 3 faults that nobody else saw. I just pay attention, sir. No. You do more than that. You see things. Things that shouldn't be possible to see. Mitchell shook his head. Torres was right about you. You're the real deal. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. Ground this bird until we can replace the strut. And, Chief? Yes, sir. Good work. Damn good work. Mitchell walked away, and Marcus stood there for a moment looking at the aircraft. At the fracture that could have killed a man. 13 saves now, not that he was counting. That evening, Marcus drove home to the small house on base that he and Eli now called their own. It wasn't much. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that barely fit a table. But it was clean and safe and theirs. Eli was waiting on the porch as he always was. Dad! The boy launched himself off the steps and into Marcus's arms. Hey buddy, how was school? Good, I got an A on my math test. An A, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And Mrs. Patterson said I'm the best reader in the class. She said I should join the reading club. Do you want to? Yeah, they get to read extra books and go on field trips to the library. Then you should do it. Eli beamed. That smile. Sarah's smile. It still took Marcus's breath away. They went inside and Marcus made dinner. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti with meat sauce. Garlic bread. A salad that Eli picked at reluctantly. Dad? Yeah. Are you happy? The question caught Marcus off guard. He set down his fork and looked at his son. What do you mean? I mean, are you happy here in San Diego? At your job with everything? Marcus thought about it. Really thought. 6 months ago, he'd been invisible, broken, barely surviving. He'd been mopping floors at midnight and eating 1 meal a day, and wondering if the world would even notice if he disappeared. And now he had a job he loved, a home, a community, friends, purpose. Now he had a future. Yeah, buddy, he said. I'm happy. Happier than I've been in a long time. Good. Eli nodded seriously. Because I'm happy too, and I want you to be happy with me. Marcus reached across the table and took his son's hand. I'm always happy when I'm with you. You're the best thing in my life, Eli. You always have been. Better than jets? Way better than jets. Eli grinned. I knew it. After dinner, they watched a movie together on the couch. Some animated thing about talking animals that Eli loved and Marcus barely followed. But it didn't matter. What mattered was the warmth of his son pressed against his side, the sound of his laughter, the simple, profound joy of being present. When the movie ended, Marcus carried a sleepy Eli to bed. Dad. Yeah, buddy. Do you think Mom can see us? Marcus's throat tightened. They talked about Sarah sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. Yeah, he said. I think she can. Do you think she's proud of us? I know she is. Eli smiled, his eyes already closing. Good. I want her to be proud. I want her to know we're okay. She knows, buddy. She's always known. Marcus kissed his son's forehead and turned off the light. He stood in the doorway for a moment, watching Eli drift into sleep, then quietly closed the door. He walked to the living room and sat on the couch. On the wall across from him hung a framed photograph. Sarah holding newborn Eli in the hospital, her face radiant despite the exhaustion. It was the last picture ever taken of her. We're okay. Marcus whispered to the photograph. We're finally okay. The weeks turned into months. Marcus settled into a rhythm. Work, home, Eli, dinner with Torres and his family every other Saturday. Volunteer shifts at the veterans organization Patricia ran. He was part of something again, connected, alive. But he hadn't forgotten where he came from. He couldn't. Every time he saw a homeless veteran on the street, every time he heard about a soldier struggling with PTSD or depression or unemployment, every time he looked in the mirror and remembered the man he used to be. That's why when Patricia asked him to speak at a veterans event, he said yes. Are you sure? She asked. It's a big crowd. Over 500 people. Media will be there. I'm sure. What changed your mind? 6 months ago, you wouldn't even talk to CNN. Marcus thought about it. 6 months ago, I was still running, still hiding. I thought if I stayed invisible, I'd be safe. But I wasn't safe. I was just alone. And now I understand that my story isn't just mine. It belongs to every veteran who's ever felt forgotten, who's ever wondered if their service mattered, who's ever stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering if anyone would notice if they disappeared. He paused. I survived. I made it through. And maybe if I share that, someone else will too. Patricia's eyes glistened. You're a good man, Marcus Webb. I'm trying to be. The event was held on a Saturday afternoon at a convention center downtown. Marcus stood backstage, his heart pounding, his palms sweating. Through a gap in the curtain, he could see the crowd. Hundreds of faces, veterans and their families, reporters with cameras and microphones. Nervous. He turned. Torres was standing behind him, dressed in civilian clothes. What are you doing here? You think I'd miss this? I've been waiting 6 months to hear you finally take some credit for your life. I'm not taking credit. I'm just telling the truth. Same thing. Torres put a hand on his shoulder. You've got this, Chief. Just speak from the heart. That's all anyone wants. What if I freeze up? You won't. What if I say the wrong thing? You won't. What if... Marcus. Torres's voice was firm. You've spent your whole life preparing for this moment. Every night shift on the Nimitz. Every floor you mopped. Every sacrifice you made for Eli. It all led here. Trust yourself. Marcus took a deep breath, nodded. Okay, I'm ready. Damn right you are. The event coordinator appeared. Mr. Webb, you're on. Marcus walked to the stage. The lights were blinding. The crowd was a blur. He reached the podium and gripped it with both hands, steadying himself. Good afternoon, he said. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again. Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Webb. Some of you might know me from a video that went viral a few months back. The one with the jets. The salute. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I'm not here to talk about that. Not really. I'm here to talk about what came before. The years nobody saw. The years I spent invisible. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I served 18 years in the United States Navy, aircraft maintenance chief, call sign Phantom. I was proud of that name, proud of the work I did, proud of the lives I helped save. But when I left the Navy, that pride didn't come with me. It stayed behind on the flight decks and in the hangars, and I walked into the civilian world with nothing but a service record and a broken heart. His voice was steadier now. The words were flowing. My wife died 8 years ago. Childbirth complications. I was left alone with a newborn son and no idea how to survive. I took every job I could find. Warehouse work, factory shifts, night custodian at a hospital. I mopped floors for 5 years, invisible to everyone who walked by. Doctors, nurses, patients. They didn't see me. I was just the guy with the mop. He looked out at the crowd, at the faces watching him. And you know what? I started to believe them. I started to believe I was nobody, That my 18 years of service meant nothing. That the man I used to be had died along with my wife. His throat tightened. He pushed through. But then something happened. Something I never expected. On a flight to San Diego, a commander I'd saved 15 years earlier found out I was on board. He scrambled 2 jets to fly alongside us, to salute me, to remind me that I wasn't invisible, that I had never been invisible, that the work I'd done, the lives I'd touched, the difference I'd made, it all mattered, even when I couldn't see it myself. Tears were streaming down his face now. He didn't try to stop them. I'm standing here today because of that moment, because someone remembered, because someone cared enough to reach out and pull me back from the edge. And I'm here to tell every veteran in this room, every veteran watching at home, every veteran who's ever felt forgotten or overlooked or worthless, you matter. Your service matters. Your sacrifice matters. And even when the world doesn't see you, even when you can't see yourself, you are not invisible. He gripped the podium harder. I know it's hard. I know the darkness feels endless sometimes. I know the weight of carrying everything alone can crush you, but you don't have to carry it alone. Reach out, ask for help, let someone in, because I promise you there are people who want to be there for you, people who see you, people who remember. He looked at Torres standing in the wings, at Patricia in the front row, at all the faces in the crowd, veterans like him, survivors like him. My call sign was Phantom because I worked in the shadows. I found the problems nobody else could see. But I was wrong about what that meant. I thought being a phantom meant being invisible. Now I know the truth. Being a phantom means being there when it matters, catching the fall before anyone knows there was danger, making a difference even when no one's watching. He took a breath. We are all phantoms. Every single one of us who served. Every single one of us who sacrificed. We did the hard work in the darkness so others could live in the light. And that makes us heroes. Not because anyone gave us a medal or threw us a parade, but because we showed up. We did the job. We kept the faith. His voice rose. So if you're out there struggling, wondering if it was worth it, wondering if you matter, I'm here to tell you it was worth it. You matter, and the sky hasn't forgotten you. None of us have. He stepped back from the podium. The silence lasted 1 heartbeat. 2. Then the applause began. It started in the front row and spread backward like a wave, growing louder and louder until it filled the entire hall. People were standing now, cheering. Some were crying. Marcus stood there overwhelmed as 500 voices told him what he'd needed to hear his whole life. You are not invisible. You have never been invisible. After the event, Marcus was mobbed. Handshakes, hugs, veterans pressing business cards into his palm asking him to call to connect to share more of his story. He accepted it all with grace, with humility, with the growing understanding that this was his new mission. He'd spent 18 years keeping planes in the air. Now he would spend the rest of his life keeping veterans from falling. Later that evening, he sat on his porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. Eli was inside doing homework. The house was quiet. His phone buzzed. A text from Torres. Proud of you, Chief. Sarah would be too. Marcus smiled and typed back. Thanks, brother, for everything. He put the phone down and looked at the sky. Somewhere up there, jets were flying. Pilots were training. Maintenance crews were working through the night, checking systems, finding faults, saving lives nobody would ever know about. His people, his family. He thought about the journey that had brought him here. The darkness, the despair, the moment on that plane when everything changed. He thought about Sarah, about Eli, about the future that had seemed impossible just 6 months ago. And he thought about the boy he used to be. The young sailor who'd first stepped onto the deck of the USS Nimitz, terrified and excited and determined to prove himself. That boy had become a man. That man had become a ghost. And that ghost had finally found his way home. Dad. He turned. Eli was standing in the doorway, backlit by the warm glow from inside. Hey, buddy. Homework done? Yeah. Eli walked over and sat beside him on the porch. What are you thinking about? Everything, nothing, life. That's a lot. It is. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. Dad. Yeah. I'm really proud of you. What you said today. The way everyone clapped. Marcus put his arm around his son. I'm proud of you too, buddy. For being brave. For being patient. For never giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. I'd never give up on you, Dad. You're my hero. The words hit Marcus harder than anything else that had happened today. Harder than the applause. Harder than the standing ovation. Harder than all the praise and recognition combined. His son. His 8-year-old son. Calling him a hero. You know what, Eli? What? You're my hero too. Eli grinned. That gap-toothed smile. Sarah's eyes. The whole world contained in one small face. We're each other's heroes. Yeah, buddy, we are. Above them, the first stars were appearing. Pinpricks of light in the darkening sky. Eternal. Unshakable. Marcus Webb had spent his whole life looking for a sign that he mattered. That his service meant something. That he wasn't just a ghost fading into nothing. And now, finally, he understood. The sign had been there all along, in the eyes of his son, in the letter from Torres, in the salute from the sky, in every life he'd touched, every plane he'd fixed, every invisible moment that had rippled outward into something larger than himself. He was not invisible. He had never been invisible, and he never would be again. The stars shone down on a man who had found his way back from the darkness. A father who had kept his promise. A veteran who had finally come home. Marcus Webb looked at his son, looked at the sky, and smiled. Because some stories don't end with glory or fanfare. Some stories end with a father and his son sitting on a porch watching the stars come out, knowing that tomorrow will be better than today. And that is enough. That is everything. That is the only ending that ever truly matters.